Welcome to the mystery of the levitating Panda 4x4. No, just kidding. This is not a land speeder. This is the refreshing of the suspension of a Panda 4x4 four-wheel drive. And I'm going to replace the front and the rear shocks and dampers and springs. I've already done the drop links and the wishbones and the outer tie rod ends. So this should drive like new when it's finished. So here it comes. So stick around and watch the progress as I refresh the suspension on this mighty little 4x4. I'm still trying to resolve a knock on the front end. I have eliminated lots of knocks so far by changing the drop links, the wishbones, the ball joints and the inner tie rod ends, but I still have a remaining knock. Oh yes, and at the same time I do not have the new prop shaft fitted because I know that that bearing was gone as well, so I've eliminated that as a knock source. So I have a few things left that might be the culprit. One is the top mounts, which are, you know, they do wear out. Now the other thing that it could be is an engine mount, but it's much less likely to be that. So this is one engine mount up here, and then there is a gearbox mount down the back there, and then there is a disc kind of pad mount which I think is down there somewhere below the battery tray. Now it's really unlikely to be the engine mount because it's a deeper clunk when the engine mount's moving around, and also when you start the engine up it vibrates. Now this little car runs as smooth as butter and it's smooth on startup, so I really doubt it's any of the engine mounts. I need to determine whether or not these top mounts are knackered. Now considering the other things lower down were knackered, it wouldn't surprise me if these are also knackered. I'm going to try and move the car. Actually through the body I can feel a click. 19mm deep socket. There we go. Woo, that's hot. Right, so that is off. Yeah, you can see it moving there. Super easy. So now I need to do the strut bolts. That is yet another stripped bolt on this car. I was actually hoping that this would shear off and then I could tap it out because it was loose, unlike the top one. But this bolt on this side was rounded off, and the 15, which is supposed to fit on there, 17 on that side, 15 on this side, was just turning and I couldn't release it. So in the end I had to use a nut removal socket to grip this and release it, and it is off. But now I wonder to myself, how hard is it going to be to get one of these as a replacement? So I'm going to tackle the other side. I hate to say quickly, but hopefully it goes smoother than this. So the strut is actually loose now. I can tap it off the steering knuckle over there and then I can get it out. There we go. And it's incredible to see how much grit is still left in here despite jet washing the heck out of the wheel wells. So that should just drop out now. Let's loosen the top belt. There we go. Top cap is off. Look at the muck, it's still on there. Unbelievable. And there we go. Strut is off. And this is the top mount. It's pretty roasted. Oh yeah, look at it. It's just actually come to pieces completely. Incidentally, I've noticed that the springs are colored. This is grey green. I wonder what the other side is. That is the left hand side off now, and these were also a little bit damaged and I couldn't get the 15 to fit on there nicely, so I just started off with the nut remover, the nut extractor and the impact wrench, and with a little bit of encouragement they came off. Now this is loose. Just give it another tap. There we go. And I just have to release the top nut over here, and then that will drop through. Go. Remove the spring nut. There we go. Here, this one is also roasted. Look at that. So this has probably been what's been knocking against the side of the body, making the noise. Yeah, I'm glad I'm going to be replacing these struts anyway. Yeah, so that's not an original strut, that's a KYB aftermarket strut. Let's have a look at the other side. This might be original then. Yeah, this appears to be original. So this has still got its barcode on. Lancia. So this is an original strut and an original spring, I think, that's on the right hand side of the car, and this is an aftermarket strut and an aftermarket spring which was on the left hand side of the car. Okay, so next thing, new struts, maybe new springs, maybe a lift kit, definitely new top mounts, and then we put it all back together again after yet another clean. At least now I can get to this shelf really easily. Soak that with some rust proofing and then clean out these turrets as best I can so we do not get any rust. Okay, thanks for watching this episode of removing the suspension. Hook me up with a rev there, motorbiker. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that red button, and see what happens next to getting Black Betty back on the road. Bam-a-lam. Now, before I assemble the new dampers, I need to just do a little bit of pre-assembly on some of these components, because I'm going to take them down to my local friendly garage who have got a great big hydraulic spring compressor. Doing it on a hydraulic spring compressor will save quite a bit of time and be a little bit safer. What I need to do is just open these up. These upper spring seats need to have the bearing attached to them. So here are the original Mankey ones. So you can see there's a bearing that goes in the bottom there. And take a look at this one. This one disintegrated completely. And of course, before I fit the springs and the rubber top mounts and the spring perches, I need to fit these damper protectors. They're kind of like a bump stop with a rubber boot on it to protect the dampers, so I mustn't forget those. But these are the rubber top mounts in question, and you can see they have a little silver bearing over there, and that fits onto the top of this spring perch like that. It kind of clips in place. More bearings falling out. So those will press into place. But you can see the one side has got a bit of a recess in it, and I think that's to position it like that, and then this will fit over the top like so. So that is the top, that's the bottom where the bearing fits in, and that little lip fits into the top of the spring perch. So this spring perch is what will push the spring down, that will give it pre-compression. Right, I'm going to take a little bit of copper slip, put those on there like that. Because I want to prevent rust as much as possible, because once it starts it will spread from one to the other very, very quickly. Now these are zinc plated, it appears, which is good. I'm just going to give these a coat of silicone grease, white grease, like so. And those will go in place like that. Lovely jubbly. Alright, let's go and get these compressed. And in true YouTube fashion, ta-da! There you go, shocks are assembled. Well, the front struts are assembled with the new top mounts, new covers, new springs. So now let's just put them on the Panda. Now before I put the front struts back in, I'm just going to give this little weird shelf some more attention. As you can see, I've applied a little bit more of the rust converter in there and in the little shelf at the back. Now interestingly, there is a little drain at the back corner there which was blocked, and I can't imagine it takes very much to block that up. So let's take a look inside there. As you can see, I've cleaned, treated and lubricated the top of the underneath of the strut tower where the rubber top mount will go in. So I'm using diesel springs, which are 13.5mm thick, on the struts to give the car a little bit of a firmer ride and a little bit more lift. Like the Cross, the Panda Cross, 4x4 Cross, has got a slightly raised suspension, beefier springs front and rear, I think to be different, but also probably because of the extra weight of the diesel, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure, but they are different. So I'm using the diesel springs on my 4x4 petrol climbing. And there we have it. The front right strut is now in place. I've got new nuts and bolts. So now I just need to reattach the drop link, and then we'll be away. Now what I did do was I used the scissor jack to support the underside of the hub, hold that up in position, and then attached the bolt to the top cap. And I'm trying one of these rubber spacer inserts that I purchased to fill the gap between the top cap and the bodywork over there, so I can eliminate any chance of knocking. That's what it looks like. It's like a polybush insert that goes over there, and then that fits on the top. So yeah, quite a nice neat fitment there. And it's all in. Happy days. And that is the left hand side strut done now. Happy days. Now onto the back. And this is the rear subframe at the moment after being treated. So I've rust treated, or rust converted the surface rust, and then sprayed it over with bitumen underseal, and I've tried to get right in there on the underside as well, above the diff, I'm going to fit these rubber bushes to the top of the new springs, and these fit on the top of the spring and go up against the body so that the springs don't, you know, rattle against the body at the back. So let's fit those quick. Now the springs are actually the same top and bottom, and once again I'm using springs for the diesel cross 4x4, so they're a little bit beefier than the originals. Actually, the coil fits into that little nook in the rubber. But try as I might, I just could not get the new coil springs to seat correctly in the perch on the trailing arm. The lower portion of the coil spring just would not stay in place. So after failing to get the springs in, I have decided to enlist some help. This is helpmate number 1. This is a very beefy coil spring compressor set.
Five, and then let's go see what it looks like. Okay. Because I mean that's considerably shorter, isn't it? Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Enough? More?
Yeah. No, that's good.
But unfortunately, the compressor tool just turned out to be far too bulky to get into the limited space in the rear suspension. This is what we resorted to. We finally have the spring in place. And all it took was manual labor and nothing like expensive tools, which I just bought. That's my rally mechanic friend.
Has to work.
He's building a very, very nice 1980 something BMW 5 Series, which you might see on the channel in another time. Yeah, every bolt on this thing is either been stripped or seized, or partly seized.
Okay.
That good? Okay, so the damper is in with the spring, and we'll leave the drop link for afters. Now to the other side. Finally, we have both springs and both dampers on, and now my friend Michael is just tightening up the lower bolt for the drop link, and the suspension is officially renewed. Hurrah! Huzzah! Now I just need to torque up these bolts. The lower bolt is 70 Newton meters and the top bolt is 80. Right, let's do the front. 75 Newton meters. So these are 75 Newton meters, and these over here, the link rod, are 50. So these are 50 Newton meters top and bottom, and these are 75. Right, so those are definitely torqued up already. Yep, those are torqued. 65 it is. And then steering track rod bolt. Well, I don't know what this is supposed to be, so I'm going to do it at 65. Okay, those are tight already. They're torqued up. Time for the wheels. Put a little bit of it in there, so it does take a minute or so. Now, after a few minutes it does start to turn purple. Well, looky here. Black Betty is ready to go. New suspension is fitted. I've refitted the wheels after giving the backs a clean with some dragon's blood. Now I just need to tighten the top mounts up there, just nip those up that it's on the ground, and then I can take this car for a test drive and see if all of that hard work has paid off. The only thing that I need to fit still is the prop shaft, and I will do that next. Now for the very last bolts. Right, other side. That is the last set of nuts done up for the suspension refresh. Just look at that ride height. So those are the diesel springs on the petrol, and it's definitely got a little bit more lift, and of course the springs and dampers are brand new. 138,783 miles is the mileage on this car after I've done all this work. Smooth as silk. It's quiet. Oh no, it's not. No! No! There's another knock, which I hadn't heard before. Dang it. That knocking that I had at the top is gone. Now there is a knock that I can hear with all the other knocks cured, that's low down. Oh man, what is it? Inner tie rods, steering rack, engine mounts. That's all that there is left to do. Anyway, partly successful. There's going to be another video obviously, so hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up. If you really hated it, give it a thumbs down. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be some more work on Black Betty, but it certainly is roadworthy now, just not to the standard that I would like. I'll tackle those other bushes in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.